Hey everyone, I am Simone Scott with Fox Sports, and I am joined by the Commissioner of the Big Ten, Jim Delany. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Simone. It's nice to be with you.
All right, now with the 2012-2013 season winding down, I want to just take a look forward to the future of the Big Ten, and we can start with basketball, the season that ended most recently. Yep. The last 5 teams from the Big Ten to play in the championship game have lost, with Michigan being the most recent. Now, the Big Ten's known to recruit more in its territory. Do you think that in order to get that championship caliber team, they need to be more national?
No, I don't know about that. I thought we had a phenomenal season, and I thought Michigan in particular played awful well in the tournament. And you start the year with 340 plus teams. You have 68 in the tournament, and I think that if you get to the championship game, you're knocking on the door. You're one of the 2 best teams in the country, at least as determined by a single elimination tournament. And we've lost to teams. I think in this case, Louisville played better, deserved to win. We've lost to North Carolina. We've lost to Illinois. We've lost to Florida a couple times. I don't know. Some of the games were closer than others, but I think it's a pretty good formula. We had a very strong conference this year. We had multiple teams in the top 10, and Michigan fell a little short, but I thought we had a fabulous year. Okay,
now, the Big Ten is known to be a tough physical conference. Sometimes in the NCAA tournament, that physicality will turn into foul trouble. Do you think this is a problem?
I really don't. I think that we have been a skilled league as much as a physical league. I look at our teams this year, and I really thought most of our best players are playing point guard, off guard, or small forward. And I thought the NCAA tournament was far more physical than the regular season in the Big Ten. So while I understand that reputation has existed, and some years it may have applied, but in this particular year, I thought we were far more a finesse conference, a skill conference. When I looked at Michigan and Ohio State and Indiana, those were 3 of our better teams, and I thought they were very, very skill-oriented.
All right, now you guys, the ACC is bringing in Louisville, Syracuse, Pittsburgh, and Notre Dame next season. In regards to the Big Ten ACC Challenge, will those teams, how are you guys going to handle that?
Yeah, well, we'll have 12 members next year. I think they'll have 14, and then I think Louisville comes in down the road a bit. So I think Pittsburgh, Syracuse, and Notre Dame come in. I think the ACC has decided to take the 12 teams that have the highest RPI from this year and put them into the challenge next year. I'm not sure how that plays out, but I think the Syracuse, Pittsburgh, and Notre Dame will all be playing, and I'm not sure the 3 that had the lowest RPIs, but so our 12 will play their 12 best RPI teams.
All right, the last 2 teams to come into the Big Ten were Penn State and Nebraska, both of which are strong football programs. Yep. You guys are bringing in Rutgers and Maryland. They have good TV markets with New York and Washington, D.C., respectively, but neither has that powerhouse football or basketball team. Mm-hmm. What do they bring to the conference athletically?
Well, first of all, they're both great fits. They're in contiguous states. Number one. Number 2, they're both great public institutions, flagships of New Jersey and Maryland. They have a belief in the broad-based program. It's true that neither has had the football success that Nebraska and Penn State has recently, but they both have great histories. Maryland has won national championships in both football and men's and women's basketball in their history. And Rutgers is the home of the first college football game, Princeton and Rutgers. And, they've been to the Final Four, not in the previous decades, but they've been there. They were last in the tournament in the early 90s. They both have great recruiting bases. I think their association with the Big Ten will help them become more resourceful. I don't think that it's an overnight proposition, but I think they're both committed to not only graduating students, but providing lots of opportunities for men and women and supporting broad-based programs. So we're really pleased with the addition of Maryland and Rutgers. They won't be in until 14-15, but we're operating on a really pretty much a daily basis to make their transition as smooth as possible.
Is expansion talk still being, are you still trying to find more teams? Are you guys content with, 14 in the future?
No, I think where we are is where we are. The future is hard to predict in the world that we live in. We stayed with 11 institutions for 20 years. We added Penn State in 1990 and didn't expand until 2010 with Nebraska. I thought we would be comfortable there. The world continued to change. I say the paradigm of major college sports has shifted from conferences that are occupying a single region to ones that are in two regions. And that's true for the ACC, the Big 12, the Pac-12, and the SEC. The last time I looked, I don't think Utah, Colorado were necessarily on the Pacific coast, nor Syracuse or Pittsburgh, Notre Dame on the Atlantic coast. And so, we were pleased that both institutions were available and willing. And, we're working awful hard to make that transition integration work. I can't predict the future, but one never knows.
In regards to Rutgers, when the whole Mike Rice scandal came out, was there ever any talk about maybe pulling their invitation?
No, not at all. We know that institutions are complex places made up of people, not just bricks and mortar. We know that people make mistakes. We know that institutions, as they're constituted by people, therefore have mistakes in their system. I think a lot of this is how they respond. In the case of Rutgers, it was quite a complex situation. The actions of the coach were not acceptable. The institution looked at it, pondered, consulted with lawyers as well as HR, and I guess even some members of their board of governors. They still came up short. There's no doubt about it. That conduct is unacceptable, was found to be so. And so they're moving forward. It's unfortunate that people lost their job as a result of it. But we play in a very visible enterprise, or we work in a very visible enterprise. There's lots and lots of opportunities for people to judge our conduct and our behavior. When it comes up short, oftentimes there's serious consequences.
When you guys go to 14 teams, has there been any talk about splitting into two divisions for basketball like how it is in football?
We've had a little bit of conversation with our coaches. My suspicion is that we'll maintain a non-divisional approach in basketball. It's quite different than football. In football, you must determine a Rose Bowl representative. You have lots of bowl slots to fill, but the reality is you're really trying to determine who that Rose Bowl representative will be, and if it happens to be a team ranked 1 through 4, you're going to try to figure out how to do that best. In basketball, we have a postseason tournament, and I think this year was it was a very good year, but we had 7 teams play. So the divisional structure just doesn't seem to fit as well in most sports, although I think we'll, on a case-by-case, sport-by-sport basis, take a look at the formats. And there may be some divisions, but I don't expect to see one in the men's or women's basketball.
In regards to the BCS championship games, the SEC has won the last 7. They're 9-1, I guess, collectively, with their one loss being to another SEC school, while the Big Ten's 1-2. What needs to be done to make the Big Ten more competitive? Well,
I'm not a football coach. I don't recruit players, and I've never put on a helmet or pads, so I might not be the right one to talk to about that. The fact of it is the SEC's had a great run, maybe as strong a decade as any conference in the history of collegiate football. I think that the Big Ten aspires to win championships, national championships, Rose Bowl championships. We haven't been as successful as we would have liked to have been over the last 5 to 7 years, but don't forget in 06 and 07 we had 1 versus 2 playing. We had a great decade in the 90s as well as running through 2005. So the thing is a little bit cyclical. You don't want to take any credit away from the SEC because on the field they really have done awful well. We try to play the best. We play the SEC 3 times a year. We play the Big 12 and the Pac-12. We're not looking just to get good records. We're trying to play the best. We recruit nationally. Most conferences recruit mostly within their region. I would say to some extent in our region, high school football has not been as healthy. Many states don't have spring practice. Many states don't have a regular 7-on-7 skill development. And also, I think that you have a cycle not only of players but of coaches, and I think our coaches are all committed. I think our institutions are all committed to provide the resources necessary to compete. So I would say, we'll tee it up in the fall. I know people just finishing spring practice. I saw the Buckeyes playing down in Cincinnati in front of a large crowd. It's going to be good to have the Buckeyes back in the fold in terms of being competitive and eligible for postseason play. I think Urban Meyer has done a fabulous job in year 1 running the table. And I think we have quite a few teams that have recruited exceptionally well in the last couple of years. So we're hoping to be knocking on the door, and hopefully when we get in the house, we'll be able to make some good things happen.
I guess finally you're finishing up your 24th year as commissioner of the Big Ten. Are you still having fun?
I am having fun. I grew up with athletics and education. My dad was a teacher and a coach. I had the good fortune to play with your dad at North Carolina. We both had a great academic and athletic experience. Your dad was a fabulous player, one of the all-time greats at North Carolina. I was just glad to be on the team and have an opportunity. And so, I really feel very fortunate to have been able to combine an affection and interest in sports with a place like the Big Ten that has done such a fabulous job of providing academic and athletic opportunities for young men and women for, I guess, going on 118 years. So it's been a great opportunity, and it's still a lot of fun.